Hi everybody, thanks for coming back and listening to us again. I've got a very special guest in the studio with me today, Group Captain Retired Clive Montelier, who is the head of the Ministry of Defence Joint Casualty and Compassionate Centre, based up the road at Imgym Barracks at Imsworth. And we've done a previous video which is on the channel talking about the Protection of Military Remains Act, POMRA as it's abbreviated, and how the MOD has interpreted and applied that, and we've spoken specifically about the issues around the missing, and we've got the series The Missing Few on the channel, where we've produced a chronological narrative really of the problem and the recoveries of missing Battle of Britain airmen that have been recovered since 1972. How and why that confusing, emotive and very complex situation has arisen. And what we're going to speak about now is one particular case that fascinates me and is already mentioned actually on a previous video, possibly the one, not the previous one, which is Clive and I talking about POMRA, but the one before that, which is about Flight Sergeant Eric Williams. Now, this book, which is not a sales pitch because it's long sold out, the Missing in Action, Resting in Peace, is a chronology that I wrote of all of the different recoveries and the Protection of Military Remains Act, and it takes us up to 1998 when the book came out, and I think it's a pretty good reference, isn't it, for you as well as...
Yeah, but it's really handy. I've come to it many times.
Indeed. So, but let's just have a quick look at what happened to poor old Eric Williams, who's at 46 Squadron at Stapleford Tawney. So this is up in the sort of North Weald sector, Debden Way, all up there, fighting, you know, over the Thames Estuary. 15th of October, and we're filming this on the 2nd of October 2024, so we're nearly at the anniversary actually, as Clive just commented, before we started filming. So 15th of October, the operations records book for 46 Squadron says, commencing at 12:30 hours, a patrol was carried out by the squadron over Sevenoaks and Gravesend. While flying at a height of over 20,000 feet, they were vectored east and attacked from the sun by a flight of ME-109. 3 of our aircraft were shot down. Pilot Officer Reed attacked and destroyed one of the enemy, but the others made a successful escape. It is recorded with regret that Pilot Officer Gunning was killed when his aircraft crashed near Little Thurrock, Essex. Flight Sergeant Eric Williams was missing from this patrol, but it was later confirmed that his machine had crashed near Gravesend and his death had occurred. Sergeant Goodaham escaped from his aircraft by parachute. He was suffering from burns but was not detained in hospital. So on that day, they'd actually been bounced by elements of Jagdgeschwader 26, Adolf Gallen's fighter group, and 4 German pilots made claims, so they're pretty accurate there. And Kent County Council War Diary recorded that at 14:25 hours, 1 British plane down at Albion Parade with the map reference, pilot missing, plane burnt out, slight damage to wharf buildings. And some 15 minutes later, another Hurricane crashed near Gravesend, its pilot having bailed out safely. So, without a doubt, we know that Eric Williams crashed through the roof of a warehouse, Barton's Timber Wharf, and the site was investigated at the time by the Royal Engineers, and they found something to identify the Hurricane and a flight sergeant's crown off his uniform. But he was so deep in this waterlogged ground that it was impossible to recover, and there the matter lay. And over the years, there's been various campaigns, various attempts to arrange a recovery. In fact, 1998, when the book came out, your predecessor, Peter Edwards, and I arranged that, and the site was visited by the Royal Engineers, I think, who decided it wasn't feasible. And since then, there have been more attempts in 2006, 2007. So we'll talk about that, and I'm really going to let Clive sort of talk to us about, well, we'll do it together, I suppose, about what's happened, because I've got your email here, which sort of tells us what's been going on. But let's just say that the last attempt was in 2007, which was Royal Engineers, Joint Aircraft Recovery and Transport Squadron, with the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory providing search equipment, and it was unsuccessful.
And I think this for me is a really good example of how POMRA works. So if we take the sheer fact that as a site where a crew member, single aircraft, the crew member was known to be missing, under normal circumstances that site would be protected by POMRA, and a licence couldn't be granted for it to be excavated. However, well, the particular instance that you and I were looking at, that 2006-2007 one, when the application for the licence was put in 2006, there was a plan to redevelop that site, create something called Albion Quayside, I think it was at the time, which meant that we could be reasonably certain, or I'm presuming my predecessor, the way they would have looked at it, we could be reasonably certain that site was going to be disturbed in a major way. Because you said yourself, that is bad ground there.
Yes,
so
it is.
nobody's going to be able to develop it without digging significantly. So that site is very likely to be disturbed. So much better in that knowledge to grant a license for a planned recovery, and recover what not only the remains of the individual, but also whatever archaeology, heritage, history is there, than to leave it until development starts and actually be conducting the same work at pace, with a bulldozer revving up behind you.
Because I think there is actually a previous one like this, which was Dennis Noble at Hove, who was recovered in '96, and the licence, although he was missing, the licence was issued to an aircraft recovery group who had the permission of Hove Council and the developer. I think it was a developer, it's all in there anyway. And Dennis Noble was recovered. So the Williams case isn't unique, actually. No, there was one before.
And as I was saying when we were chatting before, I like the fact that here you have a developer and a recovery group, an archaeological group, call it what you will, working in concert.
Yes.
As we were saying in the previous video, my equity in this is to make sure we're protecting the remains. But when it becomes clear that the remains are very likely to be disturbed, I rather like the fact that the developer needs to do the work, but is working with the experts who are going to maximise the likelihood that not only that individual will be recovered and dealt with appropriately, but whatever history there is will come up too, to add to the sum total of what we know.
Because what we've got here is we've got a licence that has been issued to a private individual with Williams, forget the chap's name now. Then we've got another go where the licence holder is an RAF officer, but it's not an official RAF recovery as such, I don't think, is it?
No, I don't. He managed to employ a lot of defence assets, get them involved in there, but it wasn't conducted as a defence recovery from what I can read.
So that was surprising how long ago it was, 2006, 2007. But the threat, and I went to that site in 1997 or 98 when I was researching that book. But the threat of development's not gone away, has it?
No, that's right. To be honest, I found it quite amazing that something that was planned, that long ago, so it's sort of 18 years at the point the application was put in, hasn't happened. But I travel through that area quite regularly, and I know how much has happened along that whole Medway reach. So I would not be surprised if this case came to light again, because at some point, and again, I have no inner knowledge of what's planned down there, but it wouldn't surprise me if a plan like that was made before. A plan like that could be made again.
So my information from one of the people who's been involved in this for 50 years, and who has a very great knowledge of this case and has tested it with a Forster bomb detector and is absolutely adamant that the location is known, was that the previous licence holder dug in the wrong place, that there was no liaison between the two camps, which I think is a bit of a shame, really. For whatever reason, I don't know why. So I suppose the point is that if a case was put together about this new location, if you like, it's not a new location, it may well be the actual location, then you would consider a license application. You would consider that.
Absolutely, and I think it's really good to use the word consider there, because obviously I can't give any sort of guarantees about seeing it, but a different location, so we're not just digging at the same place, and if there's evidence that there was again a plan to redevelop that, and so we were acting it with good forethought, thinking this site is very likely to be disturbed by something very major, so better to do this in a planned and measured way rather than leave it until we are just inches ahead of a bulldozer. Like you say, I'd give that serious consideration. I think that's a really good example of the POMRA in action as not something fixed in stone. A decision is made about a site and that can never change. But actually it will always reflect the reality of what we're looking at the time, and indeed evolving thinking that where a site has been granted a license and subsequently proves to be the wrong site, not least because we didn't find anything there, that if other evidence comes to light that points to somewhere else, then we start again and look at it afresh.
Well, I think that's brilliant. I think there's potential there to maybe have a fresh look at all of it, and I'll be speaking to a few people, and we'll see whether a license application is possible. I mean, I don't know whether it is. I haven't got the knowledge about the particular site, but I know a man who may have. So we'll have some conversations and we'll see. Because certainly with it being the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Britain next year, that's going to focus people's minds, I think, back on this whole business and the commemorations that will take place next year. Might be a good time to revisit it, really. So that's Eric Williams, isn't it? At the moment, it's still open-ended. He's still there. The site is still under threat of development, and the matter remains unresolved. So,
well, I shall watch with interest.
Watch with interest.
As an RAF veteran myself, I grew up in the shadow of these, standing on the shadows of giants, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I shall watch with interest.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. And if there's any news, I'll let you all know. So again, Clive, it's been brilliant chatting this afternoon. It's the second video. The other one's quite a much longer look at POMRA and the application of it and so on and so forth. But what I think's really good is I've known Clive a long time, and we know each other not just because of our interest in aviation history, but because of our mutual interest in the 1471 Battle of Tewkesbury and the Battle of Tewkesbury Society and things like that. So nothing to do with aviation. And what I think is great is I know Clive to be a very approachable chap and easy to communicate with and work with. And I think that a lot of the problems around all of this is down to communication. And I think communication could have been better from the MOD. It could have been perhaps managed differently by certain people on the other side of the fence involved in it. And I'd like to think maybe, we've now got a whole new dawn, really.
Well, I'm grateful for the chance to explain how we come at these things. Because I don't think there's no big secrets involved in this.
Well, no, and I respect you very much for coming along and talking to us and going out on YouTube, because not everybody would have done that. So fair play, and thanks very much, Clive, again. So thanks for watching. You can always leave your comments in the section below. I'm always interested in feedback, any ideas for other subjects to cover connected with the Battle of Britain. And of course you can subscribe and watch for free with nearly 100 videos and podcasts to choose from. There's nothing not to like. Thanks very much.
Thank you.